Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Merete and I'm speaking to you from Denmark. This is my fourth episode and I'm still a bit nervous when I'm in front of the camera, but I'm trying to shake that off. It's been a really long time since I did the last podcast. We're in September now and I did the last one in June, I think, or in the beginning of July. And a lot of things has happened over the summer. I have a lot of finished objects I can show you. And I have some events that I would like to talk about. One of them is that I went to 2 workshops with Stephen West in a shop called Yarnfreak in Aarhus. And I want to talk a little about what I learned there. And I also want to talk about a visit to, my family, my husband and my 2 kids went to America for a summer vacation this year. I've been an exchange student in 92 and we went to visit my host parents and some friends and their families in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might also know that I'm a huge Prince fan, fan is not the proper word. He didn't really appreciate that word because it came from the word fanatic. So I'm probably more like he called it the purple family or his audience and things like that. We don't have to go into detail. But he lived in Minnesota for most of his life, and he had this big complex built that was his home and his creative place called Paisley Park. And we went there, and I want to talk a little about that. I think I said that I wanted to talk about the projects I've been working on. I haven't, in the previous podcast, I haven't been showing like a lot of the things that I'm working on and planning on working on and finished objects, but I have lined a whole bunch of things up here next to me, so I can show you a lot of that. And before we get going, there is some things that has happened in my life the last 6 months that I want to share, because I think I told you in the other podcasts that I have wanted to make my own patterns for a while, and I've started writing down patterns. I finished a design in February. I have it back here. It's called Fringes and Pearls sweater, because it's got a lot of fringes first of all, and it is knitted with seed stitch technique, which in Danish is called pearl stitch. So because I'm a Prince fan, I felt that fringes and pearls kind of was a proper name for it. Yeah, I kind of laugh about that. So I designed this sweater in February, and I have had struggled a lot with writing the pattern, especially for getting it out in different sizes, and because I'm having this because I'm on sick leave and with stress. It's it's really exhausting for me to sit and like calculate and figure out a lot of bunch of things. So it's been a really big struggle for me. But it's finally in its testing phase, and at the moment I don't have that many testers, and it's actually okay because the whole process of figuring out if I've been doing the right thing, I had to do some recalculations and modifications to the pattern. So it's actually a process that is pretty heavy to be in. You feel obligated to answer questions and to make corrections and all that all the time. So yeah. But I hope it will be out during the fall. It's been a long process. I'm going to make a test of it myself in size small, and it will be for my daughter, and I can show you the yarn I've chosen. I should tell you that this, if you haven't read about it, this sweater is knit from one sleeve to the other, and it's knitted with two strands of yarn. One strand is a lace weight yarn. It could have been mohair, but it's like a really thin yarn. This is the one I used. You can see it's really thin. I call it a following thread. That's kind of what it's called in Danish too. Also, if you knit with like a mohair together with a fingering weight yarn or something, we call it a following thread too. I don't know if that's the same word in English. But anyway, I knit with that during the whole project, and then on every other row I changed the other strand of yarn, which is a fingering weight yarn, and while I changed yarn from one yarn to the other, I knit I get to the point where I want to change yarn, and then I add the new yarn and knit over this piece with the new yarn, and then I break the old yarn, and I break them in the front of the work, which makes I get these fringes on the front side of the, yeah. So that's kind of how they are created, and that's also why there is this little piece of knitting between the strands. And it's kind of neat because when you go up the sleeve on the bottom, you can see that at one point it gets wider because I put in increases in this part. So down by where it's parted for the body, it's wider, kind of like that. And also at the top part of the sleeve and the shoulders, there's this bit of stockinette part that comes along. So it's all knitted in one piece over. There are no, you just leave some of the work when you knit the front, for example, and then you knit the back afterwards, and then you put them together again over at the opposite side, and then you knit the rest, and you knit back and forth some of it, and in around some of it. And I made optional parts in the patterns where you can part for the body sooner, because this design has been made so that the parting happens exactly at the corner of the shoulder. And if you don't have a body shape where your waist over the navel is smaller than your shoulders tips, then you won't be able to get it over your body. So I made this option that you can part it sooner. So you part it over here. So it's more like, it becomes more like a poncho if you do it like that. And you can also make it without fringes if you want that. Then you can just leave the ends on the inside of the sweater. Or you could also knit like 2 colors all the way through, so you don't have to change colors all the time. And you can knit with mohair, and there's a lot of options actually. And then there's this stockinette part in the middle where you get to like get something that soothes the pattern, you may say, that it comes together. And I chose 2 different colors for the front and back, so I can switch it around, so it can be worn like this or like this, like what mood you're in. So I think this design is really fantastic, and I really like this sweater. So the one that I'm testing is a small size, and it's for my daughter. So the reason why they are linked together right now is because I made a swatch and then I wrapped them together when I unraveled the swatch. But this lace weight yarn is from Hand Dyed DK, which is a Danish designer or a yarn dyer. She did this one too, and she has some really gorgeous colorways. This one is not as bright. Got a lot of neat speckles in it, and my daughter wanted the other color to be this like the sea colors in the south, at Greece and Italy. They have this really clear blue sea water. She liked this color, so she wants the fringes, but she wants me to keep having the same color throughout the work. So that's gonna be kind of fun to see how that turns out. Yep, and so that is actually one of my future projects I have to cast on soon. Okay, so back a bit to I was actually trying to tell you about the struggles that I have. I haven't been experiencing the best spring and summer. I've had what do you say, when my state of mind hasn't improved. It's been worse for a while. I'm applying for a kind of salary through my pension company, and in order to get those money, they want me to go to a psychiatrist and have he needed to fill out some papers and evaluate my mental state. So I've been tested for all kind of mental diseases, which it's really hard when you feel that you are a normal person. You just are sick with stress. But in order to fill out those papers, he had to do it. So I've been tested for all kind of things: anxiety, ADHD, OCD, all kind of things. Did I have multiple thoughts in my head? Did I count everything? What, you name it. I get a bit of emotional because it's been really, really hard. So luckily he didn't find anything. I got the papers a couple of weeks ago, and what he has found is that I am a long-term burned out. So which is something that I can relate to. I'm really burned out. Um, I have found that I really want to know what is going to happen with my future, and that's why I've been working so hard on writing patterns and designing, and to see if that is a future for me. But because he has stated that, he has stated that I'm really burned out and it's for a long period, we have to evaluate in a year if I have had. He doesn't feel that I've had any, like that my recovering has been really small, and I've had these periods where it's been worse for me, or nothing better has happened with my state in my brain. So yeah, so I feel that I have to come to terms with that. I might not ever be better than I am right now. That I can knit as much as I want, and I can also be creative in knitting new designs. But as far as building up my own brand, my own brand, and being able to work again, that's probably not gonna be, well, you should never say never, but it doesn't look as positive as it has been. I can see, because I struggle so much getting the pattern out for this fringes and pearl sweater, that it's probably true that it's not gonna be that much better, because it's been really hard. I think I'm gonna take a break, and then I'm gonna be back. Okay, I just went to get a glass of water and try and get myself together. I keep trying to tell people that they shouldn't feel sorry for me, because I feel that it was a good thing that I did get sick with stress, because I wasn't in a situation in my life where I was happy. I didn't pursue the things that I really liked, and now even though I may not, I have to always plan my time ahead and not put too many things in the schedule, and not force myself to do a whole lot of things all the time. Then at least the things that I do, I really like most of the time. So I try to find the happiness in that. But I have been forced to make some decisions right now, because, as I told you, we went to America for vacation, and in those 3 weeks I actually felt better, and I've been wondering why that has been. I had taken some knitting projects with me, mainly some Stephen West knitting projects, and I had stopped thinking about doing anything creative, like my own projects. I was allowed, if you can say so, to do some reconstruction on the patterns that I had brought with me, but in that way I was on vacation, and I was also taking a vacation from the pattern writing and the pattern testing and podcasting and everything, and I actually felt a bit better on that vacation. So I have decided right now to take a big break from writing down patterns, or writing down anything that I design. just because when I write down, I usually use my phone or computer sitting next to me, and then I knit and I figure out, okay, I need that many stitches, and I write that down, and then I maybe knit a while, and then I have to figure out what to do next, and I'm like, okay, how do I write that down? Can anybody understand what I'm writing? Can I use this technique? What a how will this be something that people can I put it into different sizes? I mean, lots of thoughts is going through my mind about how to write this down, and so the flow of knitting kind of stops like all the time, because then I have to stop, think about how can I write this down, and then I write it down, and then I can continue, and maybe I have to do some decisions on the design, and so on, so on. So that has been hard on me, and it also, the whole pattern writing is hard. So I have also decided to like stop, full stop, any pattern writing at the moment. And I'm really sorry, because on Instagram I posted before summer a design that I'd done, and asked if that was something anybody would be interested in, and I actually had some really positive response. I can show you the design. It was a top that was knitted like a domino square from the bottom and then up. I had another top I bought cheap in a shop, and I was trying to put this the work on top of the top to make sure, like, how far do I have to knit, and when do I have to make increases for the armhole, and how high is it gonna go up, and all that. And I knitted mesh at the top part, and then on the back I did the same. I knitted another domino square, but then I ran out of yarn, of this kind of yarn, and then I'm just gonna put it over my arm here. And then I did some short rows to do the mesh come down like a lower back. And then I wanted to do a technique that Stephen West uses a lot, where he knit two pieces together and make a panel at the same time. So, and that was actually a good example of where I was in doubt of what to do, because I didn't know if it was his technique, or I'm not that experienced. So I was asking him if I could use this technique, so I could put that in the pattern, and he was really fine about that. It looks like that on the back. So I could go ahead and do that, and then I picked up stitches at the bottom for this orange panel going around, and I used a seed stitch again. Up here I used another kind of stitch that I made up myself on the front side. How was it? On the front side I knit all stitches, and on the wrong side I did the seed stitch technique with like purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one. So it's kind of a seed stitch, but it's not. I thought that was really neat. I really like that. I'm gonna use that more. So, and then I came down to this part, and then I actually decided that I wanted to continue knitting downwards for a dress, but then I couldn't find colors that I liked, or the green colors. I ran out of the green colors, and I had more green colors that were similar in the colorway. You can kind of see some of them here. So I was trying to stripe and all kind of things. I think I showed you that in the previous podcast, and it just didn't work. So I unraveled and just decided to make a top again. And then I wanted to do some kind of finishing down here that would suit it. So I made these bubbles. I don't know if it's kind of, they were really cool, I thought. I don't know if they fit with them, but I've got really, really nice comments on Instagram. I'm really happy about that because, you know, sometimes maybe you just go too crazy. And I have written everything down, but then I started thinking about how am I gonna make this into different sizes. And I gave up. So that's part of why I decided to stop. Actually, just a couple of days I wrote with someone on Instagram about the pattern again, and I have thoughts about releasing the pattern on Ravelry without testing. I know it's not a really nice thing to do, but if I really highlight this is an untested pattern, then maybe it will be fine with people, but I won't promise. But at least then it will get out there instead of just waste, because I have written everything down. I just haven't read everything through and like put it up nicely. But if people could be fine with that release, then maybe I could do it. And yeah, I will consider it. I will consider it. So yeah. Okay, I want to talk about the Stephen West workshops I attended. I think that's about time. So I attended one of them was the baby or the kids Pengweeno cardigan. It's called the Pengweeno. And the other one was a masterclass in shawls mashups. And actually, I'm just gonna take my notes here. I use my mannequin doll for my for the camera to like tape me, and then I put up notes on the mannequin with a little pen, and I know what to say. Yeah, good. Yeah, so I was really interested in learning about colors. So at every opportunity I asked him, and I did write down some of the advices he gave, and I have listed 3 I'd like to share with you. One of them is to use your favorite color as your neutral color. So if my favorite color is, this one is actually one of my favorite colors at the moment. It's not really red. It's got this bit of orange to it. So I could use this one as my neutral color and then add other colors to it as an example. And another advice he gave was, I hope it's okay I share this. I hope I will. One of the other ones was that if you knit let's say a shawl, and you have knitted with 2 colors for a section, and you want to knit a new section, then if you change colors at this point, you should also change technique, because then the 2 sections will stand more in contrast to each other, and the colors would look stand out more than, like you can see on my sweater, as you change technique actually here from doing the brioche, and then I did another technique here, and I didn't change colors that much, so they don't stand out much to each other. And I mean, you can use it with a purpose, this advice, or you can use it to make something stand out, the color stand out. And then he also said, if you start knitting up with a color you're not really sure of, if you repeat that color multiple times during your project, it will be a part of your project. So don't unravel, then just try and stick with that color you have put in, and then make it work by adding it again continuously. I thought that was pretty cool, actually, and I'm gonna use that advice because I tend to focus a lot on the colors I'm working on, and then I have a lot of doubts, and then sometimes I unravel just because I have doubts. But it could be fun just to keep on doing it and make it work and see what happens. So and then he also helped me because I wanted to knit the Surino Symphony shawl. That has been one of my top 1 priority shawls for a long time, and it's almost done. I can show you how far I'm at it. The main color is a Marled touch. It has a bit of it has glitter in it. It's easy to see, and it has some light grayish mintish colors in it, and also some more wine kind of color, like a dark pink color to it. That was my main color, and then I had doubts about the contrast colors, what they were going to be. Sorry about the noise, it's this one. Oops. I'm gonna put it on the floor. So he helped me, and I had a whole bag of mohair, and he just picked them up. These are you gonna use? And there was no doubt. I'm like, okay, this is your colors. But I'll do what you say. So there was this orange to begin with. It's probably easier to see in the back. It's not a really bright orange. And then I had some hand-dyed mohair, and he wanted to stripe it with this more like dark green, really amazing green. And then I really like this mint green. I've been knitting a summer top in it. I think I showed you that. So I really wanted this one in it. And then I really wanted this curry yellow too. And so I got those in there. And I'm almost done. I'm at the last. I need 2 more. A brioche rose, and then I'm doing the bind off. But this I can't do anything without like adding my own thing to it. So actually this part, this section with the brioche border, I'm making it wider than the pattern says. I'm using a technique that Stephen showed in the workshop. He told how many stitches, like there was this rule kind of, that if you were gonna if you were like knitting 10 rows of the new section, you had to like increase 10 or something like that. So as many times you increased, that's how many rows you can make. So I just made some more increases in the yarn overhaul. I don't think I'm gonna share that. I don't know if I'm revealing too much. Can I say it or can't I say it? I don't know. I'm unsure about that, but I can tell you that I did more increases in the yarn overhauls here. So I was able to make more brioche rows and make the border wider. So I only need to do 2 more brioche rows, and then I'm doing the bind off. So I'm always quite excited about how it's gonna look when it's done, the shawls, because you can't really stretch it out when you're having that many stitches on it. I have more than 600 stitches now at the bottom, so it's kind of hard to but you can kind of tell. I'm excited. And actually I knew I didn't have yarn enough of the main color, so I just save money and not buy another Metal in Touch skein. I just decided to get a gray, dark gray yarn, and then I'm using a dark metallic thread. I can show you, just to make it look a bit like the Metal in Touch yarn. So that's kind of how I save money sometimes, by making these weird decisions and make it work. I just I tagged myself into the yarn now. Okay, this is fun. I have to unravel myself. Okay, that was the workshop. And then I want to show you the Pengweeno that I ended up knitting for my daughter. She is 11 now. I wanted it to be a slim version, so it has more of a shape of a jeans jacket. So it's I didn't follow the pattern. Actually, if you want to do something similar, you can go into my project page on Ravelry and see how I did it. It's probably easier than if I try to explain it. But the main part, that you start out with this back piece, and I just knitted it slimmer and taller to begin with, and this kind of is a start out point for you to be able to make a more slim version. Also the front pieces, I didn't make them as wide. They were supposed to cross over more. I didn't do that. There's a lot of glitter in it. She loves glitter. And I made long sleeves that has this kind of dip dye. One is from pink, or light pink actually, light pink gray to green. And I added these furry ends to it. And the other sleeve goes from green to grayish light pink. Yeah, I think it's really cute. She hasn't been wearing it much, but it's also a very thick and kind of heavy sweater. It'll be something that she can wear for winter. So I hope she will wear it. It's actually, I told her that the color she's chosen for the fringes and pearls were, I wanted her to choose something else than the colors she's chosen for this one, but no, they look very similar. So that's how it just is sometimes. Yes, and I just want to say about the Stephen West workshops that if you are able to ever meet Stephen, you should definitely do it. You feel so, he's so warm and welcoming, and he just want to be helpful, and he's very introvert and shy. You can tell that too. So he's just a really, really nice guy, and he just want to help you with anything. And And I also asked him for a few other advices, and he's just really helpful and sweet and kind. And so if you ever get the opportunity, do it. I mean, I bought 2 workshops. I probably didn't. I could have just used the shawl. That's probably the one that the shawl workshop I learned the most from. But I mean, it's just great to learn whatever you can learn from him. And it's also kind of hard to explain everything, because I think I've heard him saying some of the things he taught. I've heard him saying before at other workshops I've attended, and the YouTube channels he does, and there are some repetitions. So you can also just look up any like knitting podcast or YouTube video he does, and you can also learn a lot from those videos. You should definitely go. He's very inspiring. I think some of the things that I feel inspired of is the way he works. He kind of, I think I spoke about this before. He does this, that he designs as he goes, and he kind of gets, he tries to get a flow into his design making, so he doesn't have to overthink things. And that's kind of the way that I work. I tend to overthink. So yeah, so that is one of the things that I really am trying to learn from. And I don't know if you have tried to design anything yourself or really let your own creativity loose, but when you do, there's so much self-satisfaction in doing that. You get really happy and high, and yeah, I think a really good example, then I can show another summer finished object, is this one that I showed you in the last podcast, and now it's finished. I started writing down for this one, and then I got to the straps, and then I kind of gave up on writing down what I did, because I did so many different things and unraveled and did it again, and I decided to just let myself loose on this one and just knit it. And I had so much fun. I think you could tell in the last podcast I was trying to finish this ruffle skirt, and I was wiggling it in the podcast and having fun with it, and it was just a really, really fun knit. And it got really bright colors, and who cares, because it's just me, and I've even worn it and I just like it. And it's I'm really satisfied with this one, because at this point I just did whatever I wanted, and didn't care about what people were thinking or liking, or if I was going to make a pattern out of it. This bow was kind of sloppy. I don't know how. Do you have any ideas how I can make this one less sloppy? It's just, I don't know, something happened when I washed it, and it's just falling down. Stay. So it won't stay. I had to re-knit the whole ruffle skirt, because I didn't do it right. I think I talked about that in the last podcast, but it ended up really nice and flowy, just the way I wanted it, and a little longer on the back also. Yeah, so this is just a really, this shows me that I really need to stop writing and just be creative, and just see what happens. Maybe something else will come my way one day. Yes, and okay, so I'm gonna talk about our vacation to America and my visit to Paisley Park. I'm just gonna take a break, because there's something about how much I can tape at the time. So I'm back. So as I was telling, I'm really fascinated by Prince and everything he's been doing. He's a strange person. He's been accused of a lot of things, of being weird and strange and sexist and whatever. He is also very religious, if you know that, and like I've just been really fascinated by him personally, because he didn't care about what everybody else was thinking. He was just doing whatever he wanted. So he was in a way very brave. And I also happened to have fallen in love with his music, and I think I've attended 5 concerts of him in Denmark. As there is just some kind of magic over him. It's really hard to explain. So of course I needed to go and visit Paisley Park, his home, when we went there, and it was a really weird experience, because when you enter his entrance, you feel like you are stepping over somebody's limits, like you're getting too close. So it was with the biggest respect that we entered his house, his home, and I had put on a nice dress also in respect, and yeah, and we went on this I think I said that VIP exclusive tour. So we were only like 10 people that was we were able to get into some rooms that only a few people get to go into, and got some really neat stories and things like that. But I think I've said it before. I'm a person that really adore phrases of any kind, like the design as you go that Stephen West says. Color Parachutey says that too. I can really get things out of that. And one of the phrases that I really picked up on at Paisley Park is that he built this complex to get creative freedom, was the word or the phrase. It was a place where everything was under the same roof. He could make music, he could eat, he could sleep, he could hang out with friends, he could make videos. He had this big stage room where he could set up stages and try out the stages that he was touring with. He had parties. He made a film there too. He had his clothes made there, and like this was and it was decorated in all kind of colors and shapes, and it was just like when you got into that, under that roof, then all creativity was a possibility. And Prince worked all the time. He didn't sleep much, which probably was one of the reasons why he didn't get that old, because he was wearing himself down. And one of the things that they were telling about that is really saying something about Prince is that they were telling about this rehearsal situation where he had all his band there and the dancers, and they were rehearsing for a tour, I think it was. And he went up to the dancers and saying, "Now you have to dance your ass off," or something like that. And the dancers were like, "Yeah, okay, I know the routine, I know what to do, and don't worry." And Prince goes, "I know. So when you go right, you go left." And the dancer were like, "No, I have to go left. That's what the routine says." And Prince like, nope, you're going right. And what this story is about is that when Prince was with his band and friends that he jammed with, or dancers, or whoever he was with, he always tried to make them go out in a creative space that was more intuitive than planned. So he would keep on pushing people to do something that wasn't rehearsed or wasn't normal or whatever, and a lot of people were really pleased with having that experience because they experienced to get to a creative place that they would have never gone without him pushing them. So basically, this is really fascinating for me that you shouldn't always do what everybody expects you to do. And it's okay to feel frustrated in the process and just make that space for yourself where you are able to be as creative as possible. And I want to share that with you because I think a lot of people could learn something from that perspective. I also heard a TV show with him where it was a TV show that he was invited to with these actors doing their things, and then he was like this star actor coming into one show, and this girl was asking him for advice. He really liked this other guy, and she didn't know what to do with him. And Prince goes, anything beautiful is worth getting hurt for. Anything beautiful is worth getting hurt for. That's like an amazing phrase. Like, you can use that phrase in any perspective. Like, it says that you actually have to pursue the things that you like, that you're curious for, that you have passionate for, even though you have worries about how it will turn out and you may not succeed or you may get hurt or whatever. But at least in that process where you go with the things that you really want to, you are happy in that moment. And then if you end up getting hurt, you still have that experience of something beautiful that you wouldn't have had without trying to go to that place. And those experiences of the beautiful things, even though you get hurt afterwards, are really valuable. And who knows, maybe you don't even get hurt. Maybe something even more beautiful happens. It's like when I did this one, when I just let go and stopped writing it down, what I was doing, I was totally in a free mode where I could just be creative. And if it turned out bad, then okay, I just redo it. And in this process, I was so happy. I mean, it was so much fun knitting this one. And I let myself do it and just let go. That's a really good example, I think. And actually now I said that I wanted to stop writing patterns and everything to take care of myself. Like, this has been a process for me too. It's been too tough on me, so that's kind of where I'm hurting right now. But I also have had some really great times in developing a design and trying to write the pattern. And when I get it out there, at some point I will be really pleased, even though it's been a really hard process to get through. Yeah, it's really deep talk. have to show you this earring. I had it custom made by a Danish girl named by Fraus. I will put her in her Instagram profile name in the information. But I really like this eye with the purple teardrop. I got that custom made. Yeah. My purple heart. Okay. So I think that's enough about prints. Well, not quite, because I felt that afterwards I really needed to do something in purple and gold. I have this Purple Rain t-shirt with the colors, and I posted a picture on Instagram. I picked out yarns for a shawl. Well, it's a really beautiful combination, because Stephen West is doing a mystery knit along again this fall, and his shawl is called Starflake. You don't know how it looks like. You get clues every week during October, and he has advised to go out and pick out 2 colors that are in contrast to each other. And for a moment I was considering if I wanted to do the shawl, but then it all kind of come together. Starflake, prints, I need purple, gold. It all goes together. I get to combine my 2 biggest inspirators, Prince, Stephen West, purple, Starflake. Can it be any better? So the colors I picked out are these Madeline Touch with blue and purple and a bit of gray in it, and they will go together with this one. This yarn is from a Danish yarn store, and it's recycled yarn, 75% merino wool and 20% polyamide and 5% viscose. I don't know if you pronounce it that way. The yarn has a bit of merle to it. It's not yellow. And then I want to knit it with this metallic gold thread, so it gets even more sparkly. So these are my colors. So excited. Yeah, it is kind of fun how this story develops into areas where I can pull out the things I've been working on. Yeah. And I don't know, do you know this guy in America? It's called Stephen B. He has a shop in Minneapolis. I went to that shop and just to check it out and see that shop. That's probably, I don't have much to tell about it because I just walked a bit around and got a bit of things, and then we left again. Yes, and yeah. Okay, I've been talking for a while now. I'm gonna go through my finished objects now. Gotta point those on here. So it's not going to be that deep a talk anymore. It's gonna be knit talk. And when we went to America, I brought, it ended up being 4 projects, I think. I had the Pengweeno, I had the Surino Symphony shawl, I had the Parachutey, show you that, also a Steven West design. I thought I had one more. Oh yeah, I frogged that project. It was a top that was going to be knit in cotton, and I frogged it because I got uncertain about cotton. I don't have much experience in it, and I was afraid it was like this really tight top, and I was afraid the yarn was going to shrink because then I couldn't make it have the fit that I wanted. So it is frogged, but then I had this one. I don't know if you know it. It's supposed to be a tank top kind of with a really wide fit. I knitted a size medium and it was getting too short on me, so I put a little bit of strap to it with like an I-cord I added. And then I also added this brioche section at the bottom, and at the front I did increases so it would follow this line that came from the top. And I also did a lot of increases on the back so it wouldn't, so it would, what do you say, fit more to the waist. And also under the sleeves you're supposed to cast on, I think it was 13 stitches at this point before connecting it with this point. So it would have been this much wider actually under each arm, and I thought that was too much, so I didn't do that. So this is kind of how mine ended up, and it's been really cute just over an A-shape blue skirt I have. So I have used it. So really happy about that, and it was a really dreadful knit on the back because I was knitting with mohair for this color here, this kind of raspberry color, and it just took forever because the rows got really long, but the result is really pretty, I think. And the yarn I used up here was an hedgehog skinny single called Kimono that I've been having in my stash for a long time. I haven't figured out what I wanted to use it for. So, but this, I think it really gets to stand out, the yarn in this design. So I'm really happy with this one. Yep, what else? Let me see. So I call this the domino top, fairy tale top, Pengweeno, Parachutey, and then I have been knitting this one. That's time to talk about the one I'm wearing. Doo-doo. It's own design, and in a previous episode I was knitting this one and telling that I was learning how to make bubble sleeves, and it was because I wanted to knit this one. I had picked out yarn at the Steven and Penelope in Amsterdam, and I picked out 2 shades of yellow and 2 shades of this black and white, where the black were less in the other one, and I ended up knitting only with 2 of them, the lighter yellow and the darker black and white. And I had a vision that I wanted to do a lot of different techniques, but a friend told me that I was not going to do that. So I ended up doing this neckline, which I think is really awesome. Let's see if I can catch it. So what I actually did was that I cast it on for a brioche, 2-color brioche color, and then I did 5 stitch increases down the shoulder, so it kind of has the shape of contiguous shoulder shaving. And so when both of the corners here reach the tip of my shoulders, I separated or started knitting the body, and I casted on double amount of stitches over the shoulders. And then I did a raglan, but at the beginning I wasn't making increases in the front and back part. I did the increases when I got around to a few inches down. And then I ended up with the arms just knitting a few rows, just regular knitting with the yellow, and making a lot of decreases, so it would tighten up, and then it kind of just rolls because this is just how the fabrics want it. So I actually started making an I-cord bind off, but I didn't like it. So that's kind of how the sleeves ended, and I was so lucky that I had the right amount of stitches for the body when I was parting, so I didn't cast on any stitches, which is why it kind of gets like this, but I don't care. And then it's just knitted in the round for the rest. But then the technique I used here is that I'm striping between the two colors. I'm knitting 8 rows of the black and white color and 4 rows of the yellow and 8 again. And when I changed colors, I was doing kind of the reverse, like it was, I purled the row when I was changing colors. So because of that, you kind of get the stitches to turn outside in a way. And because of that, I was actually aiming to make this top reversible, so I could turn it the other way around. So this is how it looks on the wrong side, and I can turn it around if I want to. And here where I did the raglan, I was doing a purl stitch on either side of the knitted stitch here. So when I turn it around, see if I can find it so you can see it. The raglan looked like this. So it's kind of neat that it's reversible. The only thing that I would have liked to have done differently, I would have liked to have made some short rows on the back, because it kind of tend to fold backwards. Like I have to pull it forward to sit correctly. So, but otherwise I'm really pleased how it turned out. And I wanted to do a ruffle skirt again, so I did. And actually I had plans on doing the ruffle skirt like in an angle, but I don't know. I just turned it, I went for the safe solution. So I have to go crazy again, definitely. So so this one is really cute, I think. I call it the bubble top. And then I've been knitting some patterns, a pattern of Stephen West, a hat. It's called the waving hat. And if you haven't knitted this hat, I recommend doing it. It's knitted flat. See some of the pictures here. And then it's seamed together, and some of it is knitted in around. And it's this is another version of it. It's a really fun knit, and I've knitted 2 hats that I've gifted to my parents, and I have a picture of one of them. I can put it in here so you can see it. And then I've started on another one because I talked to Stephen about yellow colors like the fascination of yellow colors, and if you can put them together. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you can put them together." So, and then I saw another hat he's been making with these two colors. So I've tried to knit a version with these two colors in it, and I really like how it's turning out. And I found some really nice yarns. Some of them are hand dyed. It's just leftovers that I found. So this is kind of how it looks right now. It looks really odd, but it's gonna be a hat. So, yep. Yep, and then I'm at my future projects. So you can see I'm doing that waving hat, the yellow one, and I'm doing the Surino Symphony shawl. Those are the two I'm working on now. Future project is the Fringe and Pearl sweater and the Starflake shawl, and then I have another shawl of Stephen West. I have a passion of knitting Stephen West patterns at the moment. The Marled Magic shawl, gonna knit that, and I've found a lot of colors that I like to use. It's gonna look like, I'm trying to make it look a bit like the version that he has, this pink, orange, light pink shawl. I really like those colors, and so I want to try and see if I can make one that are similar to the one he has. So again, I have some leftovers, this really bright orange that I've used in both the top and also in the middle panel for this one here. And what else? I have some cool colors in here, leftovers from the green top, and this one, and this one, and this one. Kind of expensive yarn I have in here. But also just a regular yarn like this one could go in. Avetta. And this one. And also some mohair, I think, will go into it. So I will be doing that, and I also want to knit a skirt that goes with this sweater. So I have bought a pattern. I could probably just do one on my own, but I bought this pattern by Paisley Park and I. Isn't that her name? Yeah, from Knit Diaries. She's done this pattern where you can also do the top. It's just called the knit fit, it's called. So I want to knit this skirt, and I have the leftovers that I used in the sweater, and I want to knit them together with colors like these. I don't have enough for the whole skirt in this one, so I have to figure out to make a border then it's just a solid colored or something that will go with it. I don't want it to look exactly like the sweater. I kind of want it to be similar colors but have a different look to it, more big stripes or solid colors, or bigger like sorry about that. I want to do like a bigger knitting technique, and it also calls for bigger needles. So it's just gonna be a little bit different from the sweater, but still be in the same color family. So it'll go together, but it won't look the same. I think that will be great. And then I have a few own designs I want to do, and I have been planning and planning and planning, which I wasn't supposed to do, but I don't know, things got carried away. But at the moment I am looking into knitting a top-down sweater, again with a brioche border, probably pretty big. Then make a it's not called a is it called the car? No, it's not called the car. What is it called when this part around? It's not the color. No, I can't remember. But this part from here to here is going to be a solid color. I have actually chosen these two colors. This one is a West wool. I just like the ice color. It's called glass, and the other one is Regia. What's the color? Well, it's kind of like a blue with a bit of like purples to it. And I had decided on these two colors for the brioche color, and then the blue to go to be in this part. And then I wanted to do like, if you know Lærke Bagger. She's a Danish knit designer, and she does these leftover projects where she does a whole sweater by changing small yarn. She actually just have small pieces of yarn she ties together and make a whole skein like that in different colors, and then she knits with it, and it has this really cool effect. I will add her Instagram profile in the information below so you can look her up. She's really neat, and a lot of people want to try and do what she does. So it's the Lærke Bagger style, kind of. We talk about it like that. So I want to try that out, and I want to use this. It's an alpaca, some cheap yarn, and I want to use this I will go on really large needles and use this as a butter, like, what do you call that? Like, I'm going to knit with this one, and then two more strands of mohair, and this one is going to be there all the time, and then I want to change the mohair all the time. So it's gonna be yeah, I'm gonna try that out and see if that works. And that will kind of make bubble sleeves also, because I'm changing to a larger size of needle. So I don't know, I really want to cast that on soon, but at the moment I have a crush on Cory Yellow. So just last night when I was about to cast on, I was like, should I go these two colors instead? Oh, this one. I don't know. For a long time I've wanted to use this one, so I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so I have to figure that out. And I also have plans on a top that is gonna be really difficult to explain. It's gonna be with a lot of striping, fitted like this one, a lot of striping in different colors and techniques, and with like a black neckline, not like this one, but a little similar to it, and then just these lots of stripes and a lot of different techniques. So the idea is not original. I found a top in a toy a clothes store, and I just really like the color work of it, so I'm kind of just copying it and making it my own, but I'm not making a pattern, so I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to do. So yeah, and at the moment I'm trying to learn how to do contiguous shoulder constructions, like all kind of shoulder constructions is actually something that I'm kind of curious into, and this one is a good example because I knit it sideways, and how can you plan on the shoulder to come in, and also this one is a kind of fun example of a shoulder construction. So I'm just really interested in shoulder constructions at the moment. So I think that's why I overthink things, because I have to figure out how to start out. Because when I first have started out correctly or almost correctly, I can always like retry a couple of times. But when I know how to start it out, it's the next part is more easy and simple, and it gets more flowy in the knitting. So yep, I want to show you a couple of purchases I've been doing. I have purchased a lot of yarn lately. I have seen some different yarn sales, or not really yarn sales, but places where I could get cheaper yarns. So I bought yarn, and I should tell you that I have a bit of yarn crisis at the moment, because I feel that it's stressing me out if I have just one skein of yarn in one color, and especially if I like it. And this one is a good example, because this one has been laying in my storage for a long time. I really love the color, and I've just been saving it to the right project, and then it never goes into a project, which annoys me a lot. And that's the situations with a lot of the yarns that I've had. So I've started buying more than one skein. So for example, this one I have 8 of now, and I have 4 for the Starflake shawl and 4 for a sweater, if you want to do that. And this one I went to the shop where I bought it, and I actually found another one. This one I bought a year ago, by the way, and I found another one in the same color, like from the same dye lot, or dye, what do you call that when it's dyed at the same time, has the same number, party I think it's called. So that was really neat. So it's getting more expensive for me now, because I started buying more than one skein of yarn when I like it. For example, this one I really adored, so I bought 6 of those. And then I also bought this one. I really want to show you this one because it's really amazing. It's tweed. It's called tweed, Lena Gatto, and it's 95% Lena wool and 5% viscose. I just like those speckles that are in it, green and yellow. And now I just wanna, I can't help thinking about Stephen West's design bubble sweater, I think it's called. And these two would go good together. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. And then I also bought this. It's from a Yarn Freak in Aarhus, and these are really cool. It's used to put your rest stitches. So, for example, if I was supposed to rest these stitches here, then I can put this one on my needle like this, and then I can slide the stitches I want over here, and then I can take this one off. And because this one is so bendy, I can just make a knot on either end of these two, and like this, just tie those together, and when I want to slide them back I could just do the same again. I don't know if it's something special that Yarn Freak has had made for them or whatever, but they only cost 10 kroners, which is about €1.50 or something like that, and they're really fun and actually really usable. So I just wanted to tell you about those. If you haven't seen those, go buy them. I got these really neat colors. Yeah, so I think that is what I had to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed what I was talking about, and I hope that I will be able to inspire you to be more creative and more brave. At least we need that, and maybe go out of our comfort zone and not plan everything. That's the word that I would hope that you would bring with you from my podcast today. Yeah, I don't know when I will be doing another podcast, but I had a lot to talk about today. It's been hard for me to get one started, so it's probably not gonna take me that long again to make the next podcast. So yeah. Next week is Fanø Strikkefestival in Denmark, a knitting festival in Denmark, which is very popular. I'm attending that for a couple of days. Hope to meet some really neat people in the knitting community. I'm really excited to that. And also I'm trying to meet up with Hanne, that is making also making a podcast called The Flaming Needles. She's been making she usually makes them in Danish, her podcast, but she has a few in Danish, and she also makes she's starting her own business doing knit treats, where you can go on these knit retreats with other knitters, and she's planning one for Amsterdam from Denmark in this fall, and she's also planning 2 more for 2 Danish islands. So she's really a sweet podcaster and really honest. So if you want to check her out, you can do that too. Yeah, I will put everything, the things that you might want to look up afterwards. I will put links to that underneath. And if you really like what you have seen, please give me a like, and also subscribe if you want to get messages from YouTube when I post new knitting podcasts. I think that's what I want to say today. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a really, really, really nice day. Bye bye.